Stop everything and face the reality you spend your life avoiding. Life is not fair. It never has been. Good people are routinely walked on. Loyal individuals are betrayed. Honest people are systematically left behind. The quiet, uncomfortable truth is that the world, the market, the hierarchy, the social structure does not care about your kindness, your effort, or the purity of your heart. What it cares about and what it responds to is absolute power. Every day you are engaged in a form of silent, psychological warfare where someone is actively outsmarting you. Think about the coworker who offers a fragile smile while systematically stealing your credit, the friend who professes loyalty but secretly harbors envy, the relative who feigns support but whispers calculated doubts about your potential when you are absent. Your life is a silent battlefield, and if you do not possess the strategic literacy to play the game, you are not a participant. You are the collateral being played. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this brutal reality 5 centuries ago. He meticulously watched kingdoms rise and crumble. He documented the speed with which trust curdled into lethal betrayal. He studied precisely why some men were destined to control the world while the masses were crushed beneath the weight of ambition. If Machiavelli were alive today, he wouldn't waste a single second complaining about injustice. He wouldn't beg for attention or adhere to a code of fair play. He would move with the precision of a shadow, outsmart everyone in the room, and force people to believe they were winning while he held every single strategic card. Today, I am going to arm you with Machiavelli's 21 rules of power, distilled for the modern world of social influence and economic warfare. Master these laws, and the world will never process your existence the same way again. You will walk with a different gravity, speak with a new authority, and command respect without ever having to ask for it. Machiavelli defined the essence of strategic necessity. A man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to grief among so many who are not good. This is your mandate. Abandon the profession of unstrategic goodness and embrace the discipline of power. Before we begin this ultimate transformation, lock this single truth into your mind and drop it in the comments. I don't chase power, I become it. Number 1. The power of opacity. The moment your adversaries believe they know everything about you, you are strategically finished. This is the absolute, non-negotiable first law of power. Your verifiable strengths? They become the blueprint your competitors will frantically try to copy. Your exposed weaknesses? They become the precise targets of your enemies' attacks. In the ruthless arena of social and professional life, allowing people to read you like an open book is the single most catastrophic error you can make. You must understand the psychological reality of your environment. Your friends, co-workers, and even family members are often not actively plotting your success. They are subconsciously calculating your limits and measuring your ceiling. When they possess full knowledge of your secret plans, your profoundest fears, and your inevitable next moves, they can easily trap you without ever lifting a visible finger. The strategic value of mystery power lives in mystery. The less people genuinely understand about your internal resources and motivations, the more they are compelled to fear and respect your potential. Your mandate is to leave them perpetually guessing. You must force them to wonder what strategy you are calculating. A calculated smile, verbal parsimony, and the deliberate use of silence are the tools of the master. A silent man is a dangerous man. Protect your private life, your strategic next move, and your true intentions with the vigilance reserved for a treasure. Only dispense information that demonstrably serves your current objective, and never reveal a single detail that could weaken your standing. Machiavelli, the master of leverage, defined the efficiency of indirect power. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Your primary act of strategic deception is simple: be utterly unreadable. Let's say you shared a deep private fear, perhaps financial insecurity or a past failure, with a friend during an emotional moment. That friend now knows your psychological pressure point. Later, in a moment of conflict or competition, they don't have to attack you directly. They can simply subtly reference that fear to destabilize your confidence and make you back down. Your confession became their invisible weapon. Your first, non-negotiable step toward true power is mastering the art of opacity. You must become a vault. Number 2, command your emotions. The precise moment you lose your internal composure, you have already conceded the strategic game. People possess an instinctual ability to sense and exploit emotional leakage. They can smell anger and taste desperation. The second they observe you react impulsively, they acquire the blueprint for your manipulation. In the high-stakes arena of life, the calm man is the guaranteed victor. He sees the inevitable storm, the insults, the betrayal, and the manufactured chaos. Yet he forbids it from disturbing his internal state. He moves with the unshakable certainty of a rock in a river, remaining untouched while others drown in their own emotional turmoil. The world is deliberately saturated with psychological traps designed to extract a reaction from you. A cynical coworker might launch a calculated critique specifically to push your buttons and see if you will break your composure. A supposed friend might employ a careless joke about your weakness just to gauge the sincerity and depth of your defense. The individual who maintains absolute composure in these moments always retains the power, the strategic power of stillness. Your emotional reaction is a visible cost, while your stillness is pure leverage. Silence, a measured response, and patient observation will neutralize adversaries faster and more effectively than any aggressive shouting ever could. When you consistently refuse to react, you create a psychological vacuum, forcing the world and your adversaries to rearrange their behavior around your unmoving presence. Machiavelli defined the essence of efficient action. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The implication here is critical. The fool waits until he is consumed by emotion before he finally attempts to act, often too late. The wise man, however, executes the necessary control immediately, preventing the emotional damage entirely. Self-command is the prerequisite for all external influence. If you cannot strategically govern your own feelings, you will never successfully govern the actions of anyone else. Your goal is to make your composure so impenetrable that your silence under fire becomes more intimidating than any verbal threat. Master yourself, and you will master everyone else. Consider a scenario where a business deal or promotion is suddenly denied. The emotional man immediately sends a furious, lengthy email demanding an explanation, thereby revealing his desperation and burning any bridges for future negotiation. The strategic man feels the sting of disappointment but absorbs it silently. He maintains a cool demeanor, sends a brief, professional reply, and redirects his energy toward dissecting the facts that led to the denial, not the emotional injustice. He has withheld the reaction, preserving his reputation and strategic clarity for the next inevitable opportunity. Number 3. Manufacture dependency. Power is a resource that flows not from popularity, but from necessity. The individual who can be easily replaced will never earn true, enduring respect. Conversely, the individual who has made themselves an indispensable node, someone others cannot efficiently function without, will never be easily betrayed. In the high-stakes game of life, the smartest players don't foolishly beg for loyalty. They build it structurally through strategic dependency. Your goal is to become the singular, essential asset others cannot afford to lose. the psychological necessity of need, you must transform yourself into the person who holds the critical solution, the rare knowledge, the non-replicable connection, or the crucial skill they secretly rely on. Consider the power dynamic in action. Your supervisor might harbor personal dislike for you, but if the entire operational system collapses without your specific expertise, you are untouchable. Your allies might quietly envy your success, but if their own advancement depends on your network or your counsel, they will not risk severance. Even strategic enemies hesitate to strike those they cannot afford to replace. This controlled dependency forms invisible chains. When you hold them, people move according to your will without even realizing they are being influenced. Machiavelli observed that this engineered necessity is the strongest form of defense. The best fortress is to be found in the love of the people for whom you are indispensable. This love is not affection, it is the strategic valuation of your utility. To execute this strategic self-positioning, you must critically analyze your environment and identify crucial gaps that only you can fill efficiently. This means becoming the go-to problem solver for complex, high-risk issues that others actively avoid, as your value instantly increases because the alternatives for others are too painful. Furthermore, you must hoard asymmetrical knowledge, developing skills or expertise that are critically valuable to your field, but tedious and time-consuming for the majority to acquire, thus creating an irreversible asymmetry of power in your favor. Strategically, become a hub. Position yourself as the essential connector by cultivating relationships across different domains, ensuring that anyone needing to bridge a crucial gap must come directly through you, thereby controlling the flow of valuable resources and opportunities. Beyond knowledge and connections, implement strategic resource control. Gain control over a vital resource, such as proprietary data, critical access, or specialized tools that others require regularly to succeed. Ultimately, stop wasting energy chasing transient approval and start systematically making yourself strategically necessary, for that is the unshakable foundation of enduring, untouchable power. Number 4. Master the art of strategic disguise. The world is not a casual gathering. It is a high-stakes psychological stage, and the individuals who consistently secure victory are the ones who can precisely choose and wear the right mask at the critical moment. If you navigate life foolishly broadcasting your true intentions, ambitions, and strategic timetable to everyone, you will be exposed and crushed before your plan even begins. This mandate requires strategic flexibility. Sometimes you must project utter harmlessness to successfully conceal the magnitude of your ambition. Sometimes you must offer a genuine smile to the very adversaries you plan to outsmart. Sometimes you must deliberately feign weakness so that your true, unassailable strength is only revealed when it is strategically too late for anyone to stop you. This is not hypocrisy. It is a foundational law of strategic survival. Every powerful figure in history, from politicians to successful entrepreneurs, has relied on this discipline of wearing necessary masks. They never announced their plans. They concealed them behind calculated charm, social laughter, and unyielding patience. The reason is simple. People do not attack what they fail to see coming. The psychological advantage of opacity. The core of this rule is leveraging the predictability of others. You must learn to blend seamlessly into your environment, your workplace, your social circles, and even your family, while silently and ruthlessly moving your strategic pieces. Your goal is to make your adversaries believe you are entirely predictable, while internally you are operating 10 crucial steps ahead of them. Machiavelli understood this fundamental susceptibility of the human mind. Men are so simple and so much creatures of habit that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. Your strategic advantage lies in catering to their expectation of simplicity. Consider a scenario where you are competing for a high-level promotion. The naive competitor loudly declares their intentions and aggressively shows off their work. You, the strategist, wear the mask of the quietly supportive, non-threatening team player. You compliment your rival's efforts and offer small, easily accepted favors, making them comfortable. They don't see you as a threat until the day you execute your final move and secure the position. Your humility in public was your camouflage. Your first step to enduring power is simple. Be unreadable. Hide your ambition, maintain your composure, and keep your power concealed until it is too late for anyone to mount an effective defense. Number 5. The law of preemption. Power is never patient. The world does not reward those who politely wait their turn for opportunities. If you harbor hesitation, someone else is guaranteed to execute the move that should have irrevocably secured your advantage. In the modern strategic environment, opportunities are stolen in silence. Consider the evidence. Your coworker who secured that sought-after promotion did not wait for management's formal invitation. They acted with decisive initiative. That rival who outshone you in a key business deal or a personal relationship did not hesitate. They made their move while you were still contemplating the options. The truly powerful operate under one critical understanding. The first decisive strike creates the rules of the subsequent game. If you identify a strategic opening, you must seize it immediately. If you sense betrayal, you must act to neutralize the threat before it lands. If you feel an adversary attempting to box you in, you must break out before the walls close and restrict your options. Calculated dominance versus reckless aggression. This principle is not a mandate for reckless, blind aggression. It demands calculated dominance. The first move executed at the precise moment of maximum leverage is often the last effective move anyone else can make against you. Your action must be proactive, not merely reactive. Machiavelli articulated the psychological advantage of preemptive action. It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver. In the pursuit of power, the one who moves first not only secures the objective, but writes the historical narrative of the conflict. The one who hesitates merely becomes a footnote in that story. The strategic cost of delay. The cost of inaction is staggering. Every delay broadcasts your uncertainty and provides your adversaries with invaluable time to prepare their defenses, or worse, launch their own attack. The wise strategist sees not just the immediate obstacle, but the future cost of avoiding it. Let's say you identify a leadership gap. The hesitant person spends 2 months polishing their resume, waiting for the official job posting. The strategist immediately begins performing the job, having quiet conversations with decision-makers, and presenting solutions to problems the position is designed to solve. When the posting finally appears, the strategist is the obvious choice, not just an applicant. You must internalize that the one who hesitates is lost. Strategic speed and decisive action are non-negotiable currencies. Number 6. Guard your reputation like your life. In the relentless game of power, perception is the only currency that matters. Your reputation does not follow you. It fiercely precedes you into every single room you enter. People make immediate, critical decisions about your worth, your strategic strength, and your ultimate place in the hierarchy based entirely on the story they already believe about you. Once your reputation is compromised, the erosion of your leverage is swift and often irreversible. A single poorly managed rumor can ruin vital opportunities. One public moment of weakness can establish a permanent shadow of doubt about your capabilities. And here is the brutal truth. Most people in your environment will not invest the energy required to verify a damaging story. They will simply believe the narrative that is most convenient or entertaining, and their subsequent actions will reflect that judgment. The fortress of good name. The truly powerful understand this vulnerability, and they guard their name like an impenetrable fortress. They meticulously avoid pointless social drama. They never engage in battles that make them look petty or small, and they always ensure that their strategic victories are visibly apparent. The psychological benefit is immense. Once the world views you as structurally strong, it will treat you as strong, often before you even have to lift a finger to prove it. Your reputation is both a necessary shield and a preemptive weapon. Protect it, sharpen it, and use it to walk into any room with immediate, unearned authority. Machiavelli defined this strategic imperative for survival. A prince should guard himself from being despised and hated. To be despised means your value is questioned, and to be hated means your actions are met with resistance. Both lead to failure. If your adversaries cannot touch your name, they cannot effectively touch you. To implement this crucial strategic defense, you must focus entirely on controllable behaviors. This begins with the discipline to avoid the trivial fight. Never engage in public arguments over petty slights or minor social misunderstandings, as fighting small battles demonstrates that you have small concerns, diminishing your perceived importance. You must also consciously make wins visible, failures invisible. Ensure your successes are strategically communicated to the people who matter most, while addressing setbacks quietly, learning the necessary lesson, and pivoting without broadcasting the failure. Furthermore, enforce the consistency mandate. Act with such reliable integrity and follow-through that your word becomes a currency that holds its value, ensuring that when people know your commitment is solid, they stop testing you. Lastly, manage the company. You keep so. Associate primarily with individuals who reflect the image of strength and success you wish to project, recognizing that their reputation directly influences yours. Your overarching goal is to build an identity that is synonymous with reliability and competence, so that when your reputation precedes you, it does the work of intimidating adversaries and attracting high-value allies for free. Number 7. Keep your plans invisible. The single fastest way to lose strategic leverage and compromise your power is to recklessly announce your next move. The instant your environment, your competitors, envious peers, or internal rivals knows precisely where you are going, they will immediately begin positioning themselves to block the road. Some will launch sabotage fueled by jealousy, while others will quietly steal your core idea and execute it before you can. True power lives in absolute secrecy. Your highest ambitions, your strategic blueprint, and your critical next steps are not public announcements. They are your weapons. The more people are privy to your design, the more vulnerable and exposed you become. The less they know, the more unstoppable your final execution will be. The strategic value of concealment. Look at the most successful individuals in any competitive field. They rarely waste energy explaining what they are doing until the project is already a complete, undeniable fact. By the time the world even notices their movement, it is already too late to mount any effective countermeasure. Your enemies cannot possibly kill what they cannot see coming. This discipline requires you to practice strategic silence. When adversaries ask about your future plans, you must smile calmly, pretend you are unsure, or distract them with low-value small talk while your real, irreversible moves happen deep in the shadows. Then, when you finally execute, the strike is clean, decisive, and the game is over before they even realize it had begun. Machiavelli defined the necessary strategic trade-off. It is safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. In this context, fear stems from the unknown. Invisible plans lead directly to visible, unchallengeable power. The true strategist understands that the energy spent defending a plan is energy that could have been spent building it. Guard your silence, and your executed plan will speak with authority that no words could ever rival. Number 8. The strategic withdrawal. The strategic truth is unforgiving. Familiarity breeds contempt. The more consistently and abundantly people see you, the more inevitably they will take you for granted and diminish your value. When you are perpetually available, always talking, and constantly present, your presence becomes an ordinary commodity. Power, by its very nature, grows exponentially in scarcity. The rarest resource in any environment is the one everyone chases, and the same crucial principle applies to your strategic presence. The psychological calculus of absence. Your objective is to execute a strategic withdrawal, to deliberately step back, to disappear for calculated moments, and to allow your environment to feel the vacuum you leave behind. This absence triggers an essential psychological process. Curiosity compels them to wonder, and that wonder quickly ferments into genuine respect. Absence does not just create distance, it actively creates importance. Think about the individuals you most admire. They are rarely the ones constantly seeking attention. They appear with decisive impact, execute their agenda, and then vanish. Mystery forces the world to lean forward. It ensures your presence feels heavier. Your carefully chosen words become more valuable, and your actions are more memorable. When you execute this strategic withdrawal, you also gain invaluable perspective. Distance acts as a ruthless filter, allowing you to clearly see who genuinely values you and who only notices your utility when you are no longer there to provide it. Absence filters loyalty far faster and more reliably than any amount of conversation ever could. Machiavelli understood that the drive for acquisition is natural, but it must be done effectively. The desire to acquire is a natural and ordinary thing, and when men who can do acquire, they will be praised or not blamed. Applied to your presence, this means your value should be a resource that people must actively acquire, not a certainty they passively consume. Imagine this high-stakes business negotiation scenario. You are seeking a critical partnership, and the opposing firm knows you are eager for the deal, so they delay responding to your final proposal for 2 weeks, attempting to generate anxiety and force you into making concessions. The predictable outcome from a weak strategist would be to send frantic follow-up emails, lowering your price with each message. Instead, you execute strategic withdrawal. You deliberately stop all communication and, instead of waiting, you subtly, but visibly, launch a small, promising, public pilot project with a competitor. The strategic result is immediate. The original firm sees this action and realizes you are not dependent on them. The desire to acquire is now triggered. They are compelled to break their own silence and rush back to the table, and they now accept your original terms, demonstrating that they are more afraid of your absence and your alternatives than they are of losing the time spent waiting. Your strategic value grew exponentially in the silence. Number 9. Turn enemies into strategic stepping stones. You must accept this as an immutable law of success. You will have enemies. The very instant you rise above the ordinary, resentment will surface and opposition becomes unavoidable. The weak are paralyzed by this reality, retreating from conflict. The truly powerful, however, seize upon opposition and use it as a strategic resource. Your enemy is not a liability, they are a mirror. Their actions instantly reveal your own vulnerabilities and, simultaneously, confirm the impact of your strengths. Their attacks are not random. They are surgically exposing precisely where your defenses are weak, giving you a free, personalized assessment of your strategic vulnerabilities. Furthermore, their very obsession with your career and movements is irrefutable proof you are already above them. The alchemy of adversity. You must forbid yourself from wasting energy on anger and resentment. Instead, you must practice the alchemy of adversity. turning enemies into fuel. Let their doubt and low expectations push your ambition harder than any internal motivation ever could. Let their gossip and complaints function as free, wide-reaching advertisements for your name and influence. Let their resistance and attempts to block you become the grindstone that relentlessly sharpens your strategic thinking. Every insult, every attempt to interfere with your progress becomes a high-value, free lesson in the art of power. The truly smartest players don't even immediately neutralize their enemies. They strategically allow them to exist. They serve as predictable distractions, loud, emotional noise that consumes the energy of other, lesser competitors. While your adversaries are consumed by their rage and plotting your downfall, you quietly, systematically climb higher. Machiavelli defined the efficiency of subtle power. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. In this context, the deception is allowing your enemy to believe they are a threat, while you are using their very existence as leverage. Consider a scenario where a rival launches a malicious, public online attack against your new project. The naive response is to engage in a defensive public fight, validating the attack and sinking to the enemy's level of chaos. The strategic response is to remain silent on the attack itself. You immediately channel the negative attention the enemy created into fuel for your work. You release the next version of your project faster and with higher quality than expected. You use the heightened scrutiny to demonstrate your unwavering composure and commitment, making the enemy look obsessed and irrelevant. The result, your success, when it finally breaks through, will shatter them more completely than any petty act of revenge ever could. Their hate becomes the invisible pressure that forces your diamond-like performance. Your mandate is clear. Use your enemies as strategic tools. Step over their noise. Their visible hate is the undeniable proof that you are already winning. Number 10. Reward loyalty. Command necessity. Loyalty is the most fragile and transient currency in the ruthless game of power. Right now, someone may swear eternal allegiance, but the very next day, the right strategic offer from an adversary can make them vanish entirely. This reality stems from the core of human nature, self-interest. People remain loyal only for the precise duration that it demonstrably benefits their own survival and ambition. The truly powerful strategist operates with this truth as a baseline. They acknowledge and reward visible loyalty, but they categorically refuse to build their foundation upon it. If someone stands by you, you must immediately acknowledge that commitment. Dispense small, strategic rewards, recognition, increased access, or public praise to reinforce the bond. But never, under any circumstance, forget the critical principle. Loyalty secured solely by kindness can be instantly sold to your enemy for a higher, better price. The architecture of unbreakable security. Your genuine security in the world flows not from emotional trust, but from strategic leverage. If an individual's position, sustained success, or very professional survival depends structurally on their relationship with you, their loyalty is not a fragile emotional choice. It is an absolute, non-negotiable necessity. This manufactured necessity is the only form of allegiance you can safely rely upon. Machiavelli defined the most reliable form of control. It is much safer to be feared than loved. In this context, fear is not aggression. It is the fear of strategic loss. You must engineer your power so that the cost of betrayal, the loss of access, resources, or support is catastrophically higher than any external benefit they could receive. The contingency mandate. You must live by the mantra of contingency. Always operate under the assumption of inevitable betrayal. Keep your options open, constantly cultivating alternatives and backup plans. When the inevitable moment of loyalty breakdown occurs, your order is simple. Do not beg, do not plead, and do not waste energy on emotional anguish. Replace and immediately move forward. The game of power does not pause for broken promises or personal grievances. You must respect loyalty as long as it serves both parties, but you must build your power structure so resiliently that betrayal cannot fundamentally break you. Number 11. Keep people competing for your approval. This is a fundamental law of maintaining influence. Power dies the moment your subordinates, allies, or network feel their position is entirely secure. When people are certain their place, favor, or reward is guaranteed, they grow psychologically lazy. They eliminate the necessary fear of loss, and they cease striving to genuinely impress you. The truly powerful strategist combats this stagnation by deliberately creating an invisible psychological competition within their sphere of influence. The engine of uncertainty. You must make your environment understand, on a subconscious level, that their continued proximity, favor, or reward is directly contingent upon their demonstrated utility and their consistent performance. When people are compelled to compete, even subtly, for your scarce attention or essential approval, they operate with heightened intensity. They work demonstrably harder, they innovate constantly, and they fight fiercely to stay within your orbit. Machiavelli understood these driving forces with chilling clarity. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Applied strategically, if you make people constantly want your approval, you hold the strings of their motivation. Strategic deployment of scarcity. This is not a mandate for cruelty, it is a discipline of strategic scarcity. You must learn to administer controlled doses of validation. Give small rewards, then execute a calculated withdrawal. Show focused attention, then suddenly turn away to prioritize another matter. Your presence and approval must be perceived as a prize, a resource that must be continuously re-earned. Those who feel they were uniquely chosen will give you vastly more loyalty and effort than those who feel they are merely safe. History's most effective leaders, from emperors to corporate titans, always kept their inner circles in a state of controlled competition. Allies remained sharp because they had a healthy fear of being replaced by a more ambitious candidate. Adversaries hesitated because they never held certainty regarding who truly held the leader's favor at any given moment. Number 12. Silence as the ultimate weapon. This is the most potent, yet least understood, rule of influence. Silence is your greatest weapon. While words are cheap and easily dismissed, silence is expensive, a valuable psychological currency that you must guard and deploy with precision. The moment you choose to speak, you surrender information, exposing your current thoughts, your fears, and your strategic intentions. But when you maintain absolute deliberate silence, you immediately force your adversaries to guess, and that guessing invariably creates paralyzing fear. Silence is an active, aggressive tool. It makes others intensely uncomfortable, compelling them to overthink their position and their status. They begin to wonder what strategic knowledge you possess, what powerful countermove you are calculating, and what your true, unstated opinion of them might be. Many will frantically reveal their own secrets, confess their weaknesses, or offer unnecessary concessions just to break the intolerable tension your silence generates. The psychological dynamics of the pause. The truly powerful understand the critical concept of timing. They speak rarely, but when they do, every word lands with undeniable weight and finality. Silence builds anticipation. It creates the necessary psychological vacuum for others to impulsively expose themselves while you remain completely untouchable. Machiavelli observed that mastery requires emulation. A wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men and imitate those who have been supreme. The path of great men is paved with strategic restraint. Your strategic mandate is clear. Speak less, watch more. Let your calculated silence shake the room and make it abundantly clear that your composure is non-negotiable. Number 13. Crush threats before they grow. A small problem ignored is not just a nuisance, it is a disaster granted permission to mature. A minor tolerated enemy is an investment in a future rival. The truly powerful do not wait for threats to gain structure and strength. They terminate them decisively while they are still weak and easily manageable. You must internalize the brutal reality of the social hierarchy. The casual acquaintance who engages in destructive gossip about you today is actively training themselves to ruin you tomorrow. The coworker who silently competes for resources will inevitably challenge your position openly when they feel strong enough. The family member whose envy you tolerate will eventually strike with precision when your strategic guard is lowered. You cannot afford sentimentality in the game of power. The strategic cost of delay. Your approach to threats must be immediate and surgical. You must address identified threats quickly and quietly. This means taking decisive action to remove them from your inner circle, surgically cut their access and influence, or so thoroughly outshine them that their ability to rise against you is permanently eliminated. If you harbor a threat until it has accrued the strength and resources to effectively challenge you, it is already too late. History does not reward the kindest rulers. History favors the most vigilant and decisive. Mercy shown to a growing adversary is, in fact, a profound act of cruelty to your own future and security. Machiavelli defined the necessary vigilance of a leader. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Applied directly to your life, this means your intelligence is judged by how quickly you secure your environment. You must purge your circle of destabilizing elements. Consider a scenario where a subordinate is known to undermine your decisions in private conversations with peers, but never confronts you directly. The weak response is to hope the gossip stops and avoid confrontation, which allows their narrative to spread and their influence to grow. The strategic response is to move instantly. You calmly invite the subordinate to a private meeting, present the specific documented instances of their disloyalty, and offer a non-negotiable choice. Cease the behavior immediately and publicly align, or face immediate termination. You end the behavior decisively while the threat is still small. You must operate with the conviction that every small act of malice is a future coup attempt. Your mission is to protect your throne by ending problems before they ever learn to walk. Number 14. Not every fight is worth your energy. This is a fundamental law of strategic resource management. Not every confrontation is worth your finite energy. The weak and undisciplined compulsively react to every provocation thrown their way. The truly powerful, however, choose their battles with lethal precision. In life, people will attempt to provoke you, whether online, in the workplace, or within your own home. Their singular goal is to pull you into trivial, meaningless wars that waste your valuable time and fatally drain your focus. Every minute you spend engaged in a meaningless conflict is a minute you are not dedicating to the critical work of building your empire. Before you commit to any engagement, you must subject the conflict to a ruthless cost-benefit analysis. Ask yourself plainly, if I win this battle, will I gain measurable power, influence, or resources, or will I simply feed a fleeting need in my ego? If the only payoff is satisfying your pride, your strategic mandate is clear. Walk away. Your silence and indifference will inflict far more psychological damage on your adversary than any volume of words ever could. The strategic cost of distraction. The greatest strategists of history achieved their monumental goals by meticulously avoiding distractions. They understood that their energy was a weapon, and wasting it on petty, irrelevant conflicts only weakened their core mission. You must focus your limited resources exclusively on moves that grow your influence, expand your resources, and solidify your position. You are after the throne. You must allow the small people to fight over crumbs. Machiavelli defined the necessary hierarchy of control. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. Command starts with commanding your own focus. If you can't control your impulse to react, you've already surrendered the game. Consider a relatable scenario in a shared workspace. A colleague launches a public, passive-aggressive email attack designed to embarrass you and start a chain of defensiveness. The emotional response is to hit reply all with a detailed, angry rebuttal, which validates the attack and consumes hours of your time. You've lost. The strategic response is to reply to the colleague privately and concisely, thus robbing the adversary of the public spectacle they sought. You then immediately redirect your energy to completing a high-value project that proves your competence more definitively than any email argument ever could. By refusing to give the fight the energy it craves, you protect your focus and your composure. You are choosing to win the war by dominating the strategic landscape, not by wasting ammunition on minor, unnecessary skirmishes. Your time is your most valuable asset. Guard it fiercely. Number 15. Project Absolute Strength. Power is not an inherent trait. It is a masterpiece of perception. In the brutal hierarchy of human interaction, people operate solely on what they see, not on the underlying reality. If you project weakness, you will be treated as weak, regardless of your actual competence. Conversely, if you project unshakable strength, even during your most profound internal crises, your adversaries will hesitate, believing the cost of challenging you is too high. Life is a relentless series of storms, losses, setbacks, betrayals, and deep psychological wounds. But the truly powerful forbid the world from witnessing their internal collapse. They choose to suffer in silence, to manage their pain privately, and to reappear in public as if nothing damaging has ever touched them. This meticulously maintained illusion of strength is your most critical psychological defense, for the majority of people will only launch an attack when they perceive a clear, exploitable vulnerability. The fortress in public, the architect in private. This discipline must be enforced everywhere, in high-stakes negotiations, during personal conflicts, and in the mundane interactions of daily life. You must carry yourself with the structural integrity of a fortress. Speak calmly and deliberately. Move with unwavering purpose. Hold your posture as if no external force possesses the capacity to shake your foundation. The calculated confidence you project functions as an invisible armor. It earns immediate respect, and, more importantly, it instills a strategic hesitation in your enemies. Behind closed doors, you grant yourself the necessary time to plan, to heal, and to strategically rebuild your resources. But in the public eye, you are a mountain, unmoving, solid, and capable of enduring any tremor. Machiavelli captured this necessity for controlling the external narrative. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The powerful understand that their primary task is to control the story others believe about their capability and resilience. Consider a relatable scenario. You suffer a major public business setback, a project fails, or a critical client is lost. The weak man immediately broadcasts his panic, sends frantic emails, and visibly explains his shock to everyone he meets, thus confirming the crisis is systemic and overwhelming. The strategic leader suffers the internal loss, but appears in the next meeting completely composed, focusing only on the factual next steps and contingency plans. He projects zero emotional damage. He frames the event not as a failure, but as a necessary learning investment. By controlling his public emotional leakage, the strategist maintains his authority. He forces his team and adversaries to conclude that the damage must be minor, or that he possesses a secret, superior plan for recovery, thus preserving their respect and trust in his overall competence. This refusal to show weakness turns external catastrophe into a display of internal fortitude. Number 16. Build power in the shadows. Real power never announces its arrival. It grows silently and relentlessly. The individuals who compulsively brag, boast, and conspicuously show off their transient gains are always the first to fall, precisely because they expose themselves and their strategies before their foundation is structurally sound. The truly powerful understand that their greatest advantage lies in working in absolute silence. They forge critical connections quietly. They acquire indispensable skills and resources while their competitors are distracted by noise and performance. And they meticulously cultivate the world's belief that they are ordinary until their position is entirely untouchable. The strategic advantage of invisibility. When your power structure is built in the shadows, it becomes nearly impossible for your adversaries to destroy it, because no one saw its genesis or understands its blueprint. By the time your enemies finally realize the magnitude of your strength, it is strategically too late for them to mount any effective defense or countermeasure. This quiet rise is the deadliest form of ascent. You must master the art of being patient. Keep your crucial victories private until they are undeniable, and guard your strategic plans like a non-negotiable treasure. Every incremental step you execute in silence dramatically increases the shock and finality of your eventual visible move. Consider a business scenario. A new competitor enters the market. The loud competitor immediately launches an aggressive, costly marketing campaign, declaring war on established leaders and revealing his limited resources. He attracts scrutiny and invites preemptive strikes. The strategic competitor focuses on quietly optimizing his supply chain, acquiring crucial talent, and securing exclusive deals. When he finally launches, he does so with a proven system, a locked-down network, and a stable financial position. His announcement is his victory. The established leaders are shocked because they were prepared for noise, but they are confronted with a fully operational, untouchable force. Machiavelli defined the essence of efficient action. The wise man does at once what the fool does. Finally, build your empire where no one is watching. The wise strategist commits to action now, but strategically conceals the process. This disciplined invisibility ensures that when you finally emerge, your power is a complete, unchallengeable fact. Number 17. Deploying fear as a strategic governor. Love is a transient emotion that breeds comfortable complacency. Fear, when strategically governed, is the force that keeps people disciplined and perpetually alert. If you allow your environment to feel completely safe and consequence-free, your subordinates and allies will inevitably grow careless, test your boundaries, and eventually become actively disrespectful. A small, calculated dose of fear maintains order where mere words and polite requests cannot. This is not a mandate to rule with cruelty or rage. It is a strategic imperative to never let people forget the structural consequences of crossing your established lines. Fear creates necessary hesitation, and hesitation is the primary tool for maintaining absolute control. The powerful ensure that challenging them is perceived as a cost that outweighs any potential gain. Machiavelli defined the necessary trade-off for effective command. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. You must aim for respect and admiration, but you must ensure that a critical part of your environment fears losing access to you or fears facing the surgical efficiency of your response. Consider a relatable professional scenario. A key team member repeatedly misses project deadlines, showing open disregard for the schedule. The weak leader tolerates it, fearing a confrontation. and the behavior continues. The strategic leader uses controlled fear. They pull the individual aside, show zero anger, but state the consequence. E.g., this action puts the project at 20% risk. If it happens again, you are immediately removed from core team status. This is not a threat. It is a clear statement of systemic consequences. Even in friendships or business partnerships, respect is anchored in the understanding that stepping out of line carries a cost. That clarity keeps them alert, respectful, and prevents the erosion of your authority. Number 18. Control information, command, reality. The foundational truth of strategic dominance is simple. The person who controls the flow of information commands the entire game. Knowledge is undeniably power, but that power is only realized when you deliberately decide who knows what and precisely when. In life, the loudest individuals often know the least. They talk excessively, they overshare their vulnerabilities, and they recklessly surrender all their strategic leverage. The powerful, however, operate with surgical restraint. They filter all incoming and outgoing data, feeding their environment only the information that directly serves their overall strategy, never the full, unvarnished truth. At work, in business negotiations, and especially in sensitive personal relationships, the individual who dictates what is revealed and what remains concealed is the person who silently runs the entire show. You cannot be attacked effectively if your adversaries do not understand your true position. You cannot be sabotaged if your critical movements remain unseen and unverified. Even a strategically planted rumor can be transformed into a weapon, provided it is deployed at the optimal moment. Misdirection is the art of keeping your enemies chasing shadows and consuming their energy on false leads while you execute your real, irreversible moves. Information as the psychological leash. Machiavelli understood that all human action is governed by primary motivators. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Applied strategically, information is the leash that keeps both impulses securely in your hands. By controlling what people know, you control their hopes, love, and their anxieties, fear. Strategic filtration in practice. To execute this, your conversation must become an intelligence operation, not a confession. The vague confession. When revealing a minor past error, deliberately offer a vague summary that satisfies curiosity but reveals zero actionable details. The calculated leak. You leak a piece of true but non-critical information that you want your rivals to believe, knowing they will waste time and resources acting on your red herring. The information vacuum. In meetings, let others speak first. Your silence forces them to fill the void, giving you intelligence on their position. Your goal is to collect 80% of the data while revealing only 20% of your own. Your mission is to control the narrative, for controlling the narrative dictates perception. Controlling perception, in turn, allows you to command reality. Guard your words as if your life depends on it, because in the game of power, it absolutely does. Number 19. Surgical elimination of weakness. This is a non-negotiable law of survival. Weakness is not merely a flaw, it is a contagious psychological disease. If you permit yourself to be surrounded by individuals who are lazy, perpetually fearful, or structurally disloyal, their destructive energy will inevitably infect your ambition. They will actively slow your strategic moves, chronically drain your finite focus, and ultimately pull you down into the collapse of their own inevitable failures. The truly powerful strategist is ruthless about their inner circle. They ensure their environment is populated exclusively by people who are sharp, fiercely loyal, and demonstrably useful. Everyone else is eliminated, quickly, quietly, and without sentimentality. This is not an act of cruelty. It is a fundamental law of strategic survival. The intelligence of the inner circle. Machiavelli defined the essence of a leader's strategic competence. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Applied to your life, this means your personal power and structural security are only as strong as the people and habits you permit to remain near you. Look at your life with clinically cold honesty. Who consistently manufactures excuses? Who perpetually introduces chaos and drama? Who is always taking resources but never reciprocating value? Every moment you tolerate this dead weight, you are actively losing momentum. Power demands clarity, and dead weight is the ultimate enemy of clear vision. The surgical self-audit, the elimination of weakness must also begin within. You must turn the same ruthless eye on yourself. Destroy the small, comfortable habits that make you soft. You must confront and neutralize the fears that act as structural anchors, holding back your potential. If you carry weakness, the external world, your competition, your adversaries, will instinctively sense it, smell it, and launch an attack against that vulnerability. You must choose to be a curator of strength, not a museum for weakness. Number 20. Master the art of unpredictability. Predictability is not neutrality. It is a lethal strategic weakness. The very moment adversaries can reliably chart your next move, they acquire the power to control it. They can surgically trap you, outmaneuver your position, or neutralize your hard-won advantage before you even execute your plan. Power, conversely, thrives in calculated unpredictability. When people cannot accurately decipher your intentions or foresee your next action, they are forced into hesitation. They begin to overthink and consume their energy trying to guess your strategic timetable while you move freely and decisively. The blueprint for strategic confusion. Your goal is to ensure no one can fully map your behavioral patterns. You must introduce subtle strategic variants into your routine. Change your established paths. Switch up your approach to common problems. Surprise is a strategic asset. Sometimes disappear entirely when your presence is expected. Sometimes strike with immediate action when they assume you are inactive or asleep. Even within a simple conversation, unpredictability creates psychological leverage. A deliberate pause, a faint, unreadable smile, or a sudden, unexplained change of topic, all force people to lean in and refocus their attention. Machiavelli defined the foundational rule for controlling perception. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This principle is your guide. You must ensure the world sees a stable, competent facade, but they must never be allowed to experience the true complexity of your strategic mind. You must operate on the premise that the unknown is your strongest shield. Consider a scenario where a rival is attempting to gain information about your project timeline. The predictable response is to give a firm date, which allows them to plan their counter-campaign. The strategic, unpredictable response is to provide multiple, seemingly contradictory timelines. We're aiming for the third quarter, but our team is capable of accelerating that if resources align. You then launch silently at an unexpected time. This uncertainty forces the rival to waste resources preparing for multiple launch windows, effectively slowing their entire operation. You must keep your opponents in a perpetual state of doubt. Keep your allies curious about your next success. Keep the world guessing. The hesitation you force in others grants you the indispensable time and space necessary to execute without interference. Number 21. Leave a legacy of power, not noise. The final rule is the ultimate metric of a strategist. Most people live loud and are quickly forgotten. The truly powerful play for structural legacy, not transient applause. They chase attention, arguments, and small, immediate victories that vanish into thin air the moment their personal presence is removed. The powerful, however, think differently. They calculate for impact that outlives their physical existence. Legacy is not a hope. It is deliberately built through irreversible moves, the influential business you create, the psychological systems you establish, and the reputation you carve deep into the minds of your environment. When you adopt this long-term, calculated intention, every single decision you make instantly becomes sharper, and every action carries necessary, measurable weight. This discipline also requires strategic detachment, knowing precisely when to step back. The loudest man in the room invariably burns out first. The quiet strategist who meticulously plants seeds and patiently allows them to grow becomes an untouchable force, his influence persisting even in his absence. You must ask yourself daily, if I disappeared tomorrow, would my presence still be functionally felt? If the answer is no, you are playing too small. You are merely making noise. The architecture of enduring influence. Machiavelli gave a profound insight into the most resilient form of power. The best fortress is to be found in the love of the people. This love is not affection. It is the strategic loyalty and indispensable utility you create that makes people fight to preserve your influence even when you are gone. True power is not noise. It is the enduring echo you leave behind when you no longer need to speak. Legacy requires a complete inversion of the common mindset. Systemic value. Your value must be embedded in systems, in processes you documented, frameworks you built, or organizations you founded, not just in your personal charisma or immediate effort. When others use your system, your influence continues to govern outcomes. Reputation as insurance. You must meticulously build a reputation that acts as insurance against time. Let the story people tell about you be one of unshakable composure, lethal competence, and strategic foresight. This ensures that even in death, your adversaries remain hesitant to challenge your legacy. The final strategic act. True mastery is not found in the fight, but in the exit. The quiet strategist ensures that by the time they step away, the structures they built are self-sustaining. Their final act is not a dramatic farewell, but a calculated withdrawal that reveals the depth of their influence. You now see the world for the complex, strategic reality it is, a perpetual game of masks, calculated moves, and quiet wars. The weak are played and consumed. The powerful seize the rules and write the destiny of others. You have just been armed with Machiavelli's 21 rules of power. These are not merely ideas, they are weapons, but weapons hold zero value if you lack the will to deploy them. Starting today, you must commit to a behavioral transformation. Walk differently, speak less, observe more, move like a shadow, and strike only when the move guarantees an irreversible gain. Force the world to wonder why you cannot be shaken, why every loss you suffer transforms into a strategic win, and why their petty games no longer possess the power to touch you. Remember this absolute truth. Power is not taken in a single impulsive act. It is structurally built. Every difficult choice, every enforced silence, and every calculated move adds another layer of stone to the throne you are quietly constructing. If this message has ignited the fire of ambition within you, drop this in the comments right now. I don't chase power, I become it. And never forget the strategic identity you must cultivate. The most dangerous person is the one they can't read, and the one they can't stop thinking about long after he's gone.